Um, Going back some years ago, in considering our options for the property, and there were some comments about the agricultural zoning and just keeping it agricultural, and I think it remains a very simplistic approach when you look at the fact that the property has been tax residential. Much of it is tax residential and has been for the past 20 years. And as we examined our options for the property going back several years ago and looking at the agricultural zoning and looking at the highest and best use under an agricultural zone, we're looking at industrial agricultural options for that land. And I've always believed that there would be something much better for the community, for all of Tsawwassen and all of Delta. And I've always sought to create a plan for the community that accommodated a number of benefits. And one was making much of the land available for recreation, setting aside land for wildlife, dedicating land for community-based farming. There was the acknowledged environmental and wildlife values, and that there would be opportunities for enhancement of that. There was acknowledgement of the financial value of the land being privately owned. And there was a recognition of the desire to secure public ownership of the majority of that land for agricultural, environmental, and wildlife values. There was also a commitment by Century not to pursue its industrial agricultural options until the 1st of July of this year, which we have, of course, lived up to and which we continue to put into abeyance, pending the immediate outcome of this process and this proposal before you. And one of the big issues that came forward during the summit was, in contrast to the planning that we had done previously on our property, which showed most of the housing right up basically on the south against the forest. There was a comment made at the summit that the wildlife value, which is most intense in the forest, would have the benefit of keeping farmland contiguous with it, and that in fact there would be a contiguous farm to forest to Boundary Bay Regional Park corridor. One of the questions that has come to me, and perhaps it has come to you separately, is in terms of dedicating that amount of land to Delta. The question that is posed to me at the shopping center and walking down the street is, what is Delta going to do with that land? What is the plan that Delta has for receiving 430 acres of agricultural land? And I certainly have very strong feelings about how Delta should address that opportunity. And I have my concerns that Delta needs to develop a strong vision of how a community-based farm in Tsawwassen, it would be Delta's farm, can benefit each of the local community, the wider farming community, all of Delta, and of course be a regional model for food security. But in living up to my obligations, I trust that Council will live up to your obligations and continue on the productive path that you began with the Summit, Mayor Jackson, and which we have embarked on over the summer. But it also has to involve Council becoming an active participant in a process that will give this proposal a fair public hearing as a function of the election and who people want to choose to be their leaders for the next 3 years.